Hey Marcus, how you doing? So just to give you a little bit idea of where my brain is at, I'm not thinking about following this code exactly. I'm just using it as a placeholder because I'm gonna be honest, I do not remember all of the I don't remember all the syntax by myself. So I'm all the syntax in my head. So I'm like grabbing at straws. There's a couple of things that are like pretty different that I can tell is not like 100% necessary. It's just the way that they like to write code. So, like for example, this code here is about the same. You know what I mean? From here to here is the same, and then from uh, here to here is about the same. You know what I mean? So from here to here is basically this code here. We're basically making a connection, blah blah blah, adding a database. Um, and then this code here is legitimate. It it's the SQL part. This is like security aspects. I'm not sure if we're gonna need this particular code right here, right? But the idea is correct. Um, like I said, like doing security is all about like skill and knowledge. I'm a very entry level person, just so you know. I have a master's, but I'm entry level. But like as far as functionality goes, on the shorthand, I don't think we need to have this incorporated immediately just for functionality because in software development you don't want to get you're gonna get stuck on stuff, but like you want to make sure that you have as many aspects working. Like with object oriented programming, you want so basically that's what I'm doing. I'm doing object oriented programming. So basically like this is an object, right? This HTML is its own object. This connection string is its own object, right? I pass this connection string object to this main object or main module, right? So what I think is next is we need an object for inserting, which is this right here, right? And the only reason why we need something for inserting is to let me pull all that up. Because as it stands right now, okay, so the database state this time. Great. Boom, 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 boom. Uh, uh, structure. Yeah. So as it stands, we don't have anything. Like there's nothing. There's no this is an empty table. There's no rows, no nothing, right? So the first time that we try to test this, there's nothing to test it against, right? Also, there's no submit button. That's really easy. It's just a couple lines of code. But basically, so the test, the interaction with this application and this database, in my opinion, in my time, the smart thing to do would be to use this right here to do the initial insert. So basically, I would put a submit button in here. Let me find that form. Blah, 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 blah. So like, it would look just like this, except at the bottom there would be a submit, and then at the top we would have form action, and this is an object, right? So what I'm thinking about doing is creating another object called insert.php. You know what I mean? Just like we have this object connect.php. So this page will automatically call this object. It's not the most secure way of doing it. Like when we get development, we'll change that. But this page will call this object, right? The connection, then you'll have the connection. And then there will be, inside this form would be at the top of the form would be a object call to the insert. We'll make a new insert.php file. And to keep it simple, it would just have, um, it basically would just have this line of code. You know what I mean? Right here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 lines of code. And then we would, in reality, we want the link to be closed after we're done using it. That is the way it's supposed to go. But for development, that's not something that we need to focus on. But once we get there, we want to be able to have these links closed at the appropriate time, because the last thing you want is someone to be able just to find the website and then just use a brute force attack to get database information and crash it. Okay, but so once we see that we can insert from here to here, right? Then the next name of the game would be to go back to this object that we're going to create that we haven't created yet and edit it, right? So instead of saying insert, it's now going to say select, right? And it's going to say select first name, last name, and the values is going to be these variables. As you can see, this variable is called here. Um, we're calling the oh, I didn't make the PHP variable yet. Yeah, I haven't made the PHP variable. So these are PHP variable for the connection, right? I would have to, in the new object, I would have to make PHP variables that correspond to these fields right here. And I think basically it will correspond with this one, with the IDs, either IDs or names, right? So it would select those entries and it would be based off of these values that were defined, and these values will be mapped to these values here. And then based off of that grab, well, obviously, if it can't find the first name, right, then if it can't find the user, then we want it to return an error, right? So we would get this. But then if it can return the user, so my suggestion is to just break this up into sections where select user from login database where blah, 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 blah. All right. If it connects successfully. And then have another nested if and then another nested if statement that selects the password block, this block, after we select the first name block. And then if that's correct, then it'll put you in there. So I think first off, getting data inserted into the database from the application is a smart way to go. And then from there, we can edit that same code just to do the check. All right. So then once we get this part here, right, then now we would be where the code that you showed me was at, and which like you're checking to see if this user is logged in, right? And so as you see this right here connected successfully, this little echo is like almost the equivalent of that is I forgot the syntax, but it was like is set user logged in, and then it would display the user. So the way that we have this displayed here, we could do the same exact thing with that code that you got. And so in my opinion, the code that you have needed all this background knowledge, and then that code can now be used. That's just my personal opinion. But here's just a little bit. I'm going to be around my computer for the next hour and 45 minutes, hit me up because I would love to work on this. I definitely set aside a good hour 45 minutes for this every morning. If for some reason we don't meet today, I say let's try to regroup for Monday. I actually just got a software development assessment to take for Amazon, and I have to study for that. And then I have a assessment to take for a company called Printi. The Printi assessment is more like SAT, ACT focused, like it's math, critical thinking, and soft skills. But I need to study for these IT tests and make sure I'm uh, doing the best possible because I could possibly work for Amazon if I pass this test. But anyways, hit me up. Have a good one.